Well, do you remember that over a week ago this road was completely closed and residents were protesting on the streets, barricading the roads with burning tires, rocks and rubble, really demanding that Eskom reconnects their power. But there seems to have been developments in the sense that the community has had various meetings where they decided that they would cough out about 500 rand to pay back Eskom. This is now a form of repayment of the 6,000 rands or the debt that they are said to owe to the power utility. But Eskom says that that arrangement was not made with them. They did not enter into an agreement with the community of Diepkloof Zone 3. There was an expectation that power would return or be restored by Wednesday or by Tuesday evening, but that has since not happened. And residents are saying, well, it looks like they might have a bleak Christmas because they seem to not be reaching an agreement with Eskom at this point.
What impact has this had, or rather what impact has it had on businesses in Zone 3?
I'm standing right now on Imink Road. This is one of the major routes here in Diepkloof. It connects Diepkloof from Zone 3 right till Zone 6 and right to Baragwanath Hospital. Just down the road, there is the Soweto Highway, and many of the, or rather, much of that area has been largely affected by the power outage. If you look just down the road, the number of businesses that are there, this is known to be a buzz, really, especially now during the festive season. A lot of businesses here offer entertainment, they offer food services, but that has really impacted, or the electricity and the power outage has really impacted on the businesses. I can't even describe or start to even describe the issue around the traffic that the closure of these roads, if it happens, causes here on this particular road. Many of the residents of Soweto, now I'm talking about Orlando, I'm talking Mzimhlope, Midlands, Jablani, Dobsonville, who use the Soweto Highway, really get affected. They have to find alternative routes to get to where they're going. Also, I spoke to one of the senior citizens a short while ago who described to me the situation for them as senior citizens. You'll remember, Eskom is demanding that they pay 6,000 rand to reconnect, and she says she basically can't even afford the 500 rand that the community has spoken about. She now proposes that the residents pay about 100 rand, and the money should be recorded in terms of which house has paid that particular amount. So it seems the impact really has really affected the residents of Diepkloof, not only them, but the residents of other communities here in Soweto.
A number of communities in Soweto have had to pay that 6,000 rand, right? So some have, some still haven't. What are people telling you there in Diepkloof in terms of this issue? Are they adamant that they're not going to budge, even though Eskom is also saying it's not moving on its stance of 6,000?
Well, over the past few weeks, we've seen some doubling down from community members. You know, we started hearing, in the beginning, we started hearing them saying they will not be paying the 6,000 rands. But now the conversation seems to be changing to one where they're saying they're willing to negotiate. In fact, they're asking Eskom to meet them halfway, saying that if Eskom meets us halfway, we will be able to pay a certain amount. But the 6,000 rand seems to just be out of the way due to many of them saying they can't afford it. If Eskom is willing to come back to the negotiation table, they are looking at other amounts. I heard one of the senior citizens who was protesting last week saying that in fact we would be able to pay about 300 rands towards the debt and still pay for the electricity only if Eskom completes its job of installing prepaid electricity meters. If they complete that job, then we will be able to buy our own electricity, but on the side we'll also be able to service that debt. We will be able to pay that 6,000 rands. Now Eskom says it has lost around 96 million rand from the residents of Diepkloof. That's in revenue, and says the only way it will reconnect is if they pay those 6,000 rands and then continue to pay towards the debt. They view the mayor's statements around the debt of the residents as ignorant. They say she is arrogant for even suggesting that the vulnerable pay out that money.
And we heard her, I think it was yesterday or a day ago, a day or two ago, rather, saying that some people have supported her hardline approach to this situation. But finally, what do motorists need to know? Somebody who's making their way to that area. Are we expecting protesters to resurface?
Well, at the moment, from the conversation that we're having, there seems to be conversations that, residents are having with the authorities. The ward councillor, I spoke to her earlier on, says there's been a number of engagements, a letter of a memorandum of demand has been submitted to the mayor's office. They've had engagements with the premier's office, but there seems to be not an understanding or an agreement where they've reached an agreement with Eskom in terms of, the final say. It seems the buck here stops with Eskom, who has decided that they will not switch on until those 6,000 rand are paid. Now, it's demanding that at least 50% of the community pay that 6,000 rand. Now, the conversations, of course, do continue here on the ground, but it's not yet clear what the next move will be. We're told that in the past couple of days, there has been a number of residents that have taken to the streets, which is why you're seeing here on the ground, there's still that rubble. The last time I was here, the traffic lights were standing straight, but it seems they also have started falling. So residents here are quite adamant that if they feel the frustration, they will take to the streets. It does not look like there's any end in sight to this particular protest, given, of course, the amount of rubble that is still on the road. I mean, the roads are dark in the evening, and there is no sign that they will be removing any of the rubble on the road. In fact, you see the vehicles navigating around it. So it remains to be seen then what will happen in the next coming days in terms of whether residents will take to the streets or not.
During campaigning, at the height of it, residents of Soweto and other parts were promised electricity, and yet here we are today. What are residents telling you about the failure to provide services by these leaders?
Well, I spoke to the ward councillor in particular around this historic debt, because you'll remember that Mpho is not the first mayor in the city of Johannesburg. There has been a number of mayors, including ANC members, and if I remember correctly, the prepaid meter systems were installed during the times of Pakstow, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, the residents are claiming that that particular process was not completed. There seems to be a belief, they say, that the mayor holds the view that if communities like Tembisa are paying, why is Soweto not paying, despite, of course, the promises that have been made by various political parties and even, the Democratic Alliance in terms of providing the services to the community. There seems to be that view that the mayor holds the view that, while other communities are paying, why is Soweto different? Why are they also not paying? There's been some communities in Soweto that have also suffered the same fate. Some of them have paid in terms of that reconnection. So what makes the area of Diepkloof Zone 3 special? But they are totally against that, saying that that is being out of touch with what is happening on the ground, because the number of people that are living here, or the kind of people that live in these houses, have either inherited the houses, they are third generations, as we've heard last week, or they are senior citizens. Many of them are unemployed. How do we expect them to take over the historic debt of their grandparents? You remember, Soweto owes about 7.5 billion rand to Eskom, and that debt still needs to be serviced. Another thing that they're questioning is why Eskom is failing to break down that 7.5 billion rand and make every house accountable for the debt that they own. It seems they're saying that it seems that Eskom is just, drawing that figure and saying, well, and applying a blanket approach to say Soweto residents owe Eskom about 7.5 billion rand. Where is the breakdown of that figure? Who owes what? What community owes what? And therefore, those people must be held accountable.
Quite the conundrum. Linda Mnisi in Zone 3 in Diepkloof, Soweto. Thank you.